Welcome to the explainer that is going to completely reframe everything you thought you knew about Luke 24. For way too long, we've treated the road to Emmaus as just this simple, melancholy walk. Two sad guys on a dusty dirt road having a moment of grief. But today, we're diving into the scholarship that proves this was absolutely not just a Sunday stroll. What we're actually looking at is the pivotal, cosmic hinge of human history. We are talking about a literal masterclass in divine architecture.
We need to immediately dismantle our preconceived notions here and establish the massive cosmic stakes. Think about it. Jesus, the resurrected Lord of the universe, walks right up to two of his own disciples, and they have absolutely no idea who he is. So why were their eyes kept from recognizing the creator of the universe? I mean, this wasn't a case of bad eyesight or some trick of the evening shadows. When we look at the source text, we see something much deeper, a deliberate divine masking of the physical realm. The veil of reality was pulled incredibly tight over their perception.
Chapter 1. The Cosmic Masking.
So, to understand how this masking actually happened, we're going to use what we call the TACT linguistic engine. That stands for terms, adjectives, connectives, and tenses. This will help us decode the ancient Greek text like we're reading the source code of the universe. Let's start with the T for tenses. Look at this comparison right here. Throughout this narrative, the author, Luke, contrasts two very specific verb tenses when talking about the disciples' vision. At the very beginning of the journey, their inability to see is written in the imperfect passive. This means it was a continuous, ongoing action that was acting upon them. But later, when their eyes are finally opened, it's written in the aorist passive. That signifies a sudden, instantaneous, almost violent tearing open of their perception in a single, solitary moment.
Now, let's jump into the terms of our framework. The exact Greek word used in Luke 24:16 is ekritanto. Literally, this translates to "were continuously held." Scholars identify this specific phrasing as a divine passive, meaning the text isn't saying they just happened to forget what Jesus looked like. No, it implies that God himself was actively, supernaturally restraining their vision. God was literally keeping them blind to the physical reality of the resurrected Christ until the entire covenantal sequence of history could be fully explained to them.
Chapter 2. The Emmaus Misconception.
Okay, we need to look at some topographical and textual riddles here to prove that this isn't just a geographical journey, it's a deeply theological one. Notice on number 60. The text says Emmaus was 60 stadia from Jerusalem, which is exactly 7 miles. Now, some later corrupted manuscripts tried to change this to 160 stadia, or about 20 miles, just to match up with a famous Roman city, but scholars firmly, absolutely debunk that error. Why? Well, because these disciples urgently run all the way back to Jerusalem that exact same evening. You can't sprint 20 miles uphill in the pitch black of night. It was a 7-mile walk, making this a highly localized, incredibly high-stakes journey right in the immediate shadow of the crucifixion.
And man, it gets even deeper. In one of our most ancient manuscripts, the Codex Beza, the village isn't even called Emmaus at all. A scribe intentionally wrote the word Ulamaus. Why on earth does that matter? Because Ulamaus is the exact Greek term used in the Septuagint for the place where the patriarch Jacob fell asleep and saw the cosmic ladder connecting heaven and earth back in Genesis 28. Think about that. Early Christian scribes were intentionally overlaying Jacob's cosmic ladder onto this road. They are desperately signaling to the reader, this road is a place of displacement, yes, but it is about to become ground zero for a divine visitation.
Chapter 3. The Architectural Rewind.
So on this road, Jesus actually rebukes them for being slow of heart, and he begins to teach. But this isn't some quick casual Bible study. This is the creator of the universe walking them through the master architecture of redemptive history, literally rebuilding their shattered worldview piece by piece. Let's pull up the next term in our analysis. The text says Jesus expounded or interpreted the scriptures to them. The Greek root word here is diermenuen. This doesn't just mean teaching, it implies a cosmic, comprehensive translation. Jesus was rethreading the entire Old Testament cosmos right there on the fly, translating the hidden spiritual architecture of the universe directly into their human minds.
Now, the crucial point is found in this exact phrase, was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer? And here is our connective in the TACT framework. The Greek word is de, which translates to divine obligation or cosmic necessity. This is huge. Jesus wasn't saying the cross was some tragic accident that God barely managed to fix. He was using this connective to prove that the ultimate entry into physical, resurrected glory was intricately, necessarily, and permanently linked to the suffering of the cross.
He maps it all out perfectly for them.
He takes them through Moses, showing the creation and the fall. He walks them through the prophets, showing the absolute necessity of judgment and the suffering servant. And then he guides them through the Psalms, proving ultimate vindication and glory. Jesus unpacked these canonical layers to prove to them that the entirety of Scripture, literally from the first spoken word in Genesis to the heavy silence of the tomb, was culminating in this exact historical moment on this specific dusty road.
And how did they react to this? Well, let's look at the adjective in our THETD engine. They later exclaim, "Was not our heart burning within us?" The word hyomene, it paints a picture of a running, active, fully consuming emotion. The heavy darkness of their grief was literally being illuminated from the inside out. Their spiritual perception was finally beginning to align with the architectural rewind that the Creator was performing right in front of them.
Chapter 4. Shattering the Veil.
So they reach the village and invite this mysterious stranger inside. And here we reach the absolute pinnacle of this narrative, the moment where physical nourishment and spiritual sight violently intersect. Notice this incredibly precise sequence of actions at the table. He took bread, blessed it, broke it, and gave it to them. Guys, this is no accident. Luke is intentionally mirroring the exact sequence used in the miraculous feeding of the multitudes, and even more importantly, the Last Supper. This reality-shifting meal carries massive, undeniable Eucharistic overtones. God is about to reveal himself right there in the physical elements.
It all hinges on this one word, klau, broken. The exact microsecond the unleavened bread is broken, the subatomic shift occurs. The text tells us their eyes were opened, dienoi theson. Remember that aorist passive we talked about earlier? That sudden, instantaneous tearing open of the veil. The cosmic masking absolutely shatters. They see the resurrected Lord in his full glory, and in that exact fraction of a second of recognition, he just vanishes.
And this brilliantly illustrates what theologians call the Edenic inversion. Let's just look at the symmetry here for a second, because it's mind-blowing. Back in the Garden of Eden in Genesis 3, humanity took a meal they weren't supposed to take. Their eyes were opened, and what did they see? Shame, exile, and a world completely cursed by death. But here, on the road to Emmaus, humanity receives a meal broken by God himself. Their eyes are opened, and they see the ultimate reversal of the fall. They see life, restoration, and the blazing dawn of the new creation.
Now, when Jesus vanishes, you might be asking, was he just a ghost? The Greco-Roman world was absolutely full of phantasma, immaterial spirits that terrified the living, but look at the stark contrast in this table. When Jesus appears to the rest of the disciples later on in Luke 24, he emphatically proves he is not some liminal myth. He tells them to physically touch him. He has real flesh and bones. He eats broiled fish right in front of them. He brings peace, not terror. This wasn't a ghost story, guys. This was the inauguration of a physical, transformed, glorified resurrection body. A brand new type of human life had literally just been injected into the cosmos.
Chapter 5. The New Creation Reality.
This is exactly where this ancient text demands something of you and me, the modern striver today. You cannot encounter this kind of truth and just stay sitting at the table. Once the veil is shattered, everything changes. The text tells us that same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem. Now remember, it's pitch black outside. It's a 7-mile uphill sprint, but they don't even hesitate. There is an immediate radical return to the community of faith. They had to proclaim a message that it just recalibrated the entire cosmos. The Lord is risen indeed. So I'm going to leave you with this. Look closely at the reality in front of you. Are you just walking down a dusty, confusing, melancholy road, thinking your grief and your current circumstances are all there is to the story? Or will you let the master architect rewind your understanding? Will you let your heart burn with the scriptures? Are your eyes finally open to the cosmic highway of the new creation? The veil has been shattered. It's time to see.